Alright, so here's the thing. If you've been playing Mecharashi for a while, you already know the drill. It's a turn-based strategy gacha game, and just like in every gacha ever, the question is, who are you gonna roll for? With a roster already packed full of pilots and even more on the way, picking the right ones can feel like you're navigating a minefield. Pull on the wrong banner and you might be stuck with a lineup that struggles in tougher battles. That's why today, we're cutting through the noise with our ultimate Mecharashi Pilots tier list. We've looked at the meta, the skills, the synergies, and yes, the pilots that just make you go wow when they hit the battlefield. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just starting out, this guide is going to help you decide exactly where to spend those hard-earned pulls so you can dominate both PvE and PvP without any regrets. I'm quickly moving on to the video. And I'm ranking pilots in Mecharashi. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of tier list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
My friends, only 0.1% of viewers subscribe. If you like this type of content, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you in advance for your support.
The pilots in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Arnold, Bella, Hawkwood, Lucia, and Raven. Oh boy. Here comes the D tier gang, the we tried our best club of Mecharashi pilots. They are not exactly useless, but let's just say if they were in a race, they would be the ones still looking for the starting line. First up, we have Arnold. Now, Arnold is actually pretty good at messing with enemies by throwing debuffs and shielding allies. He even stops enemies from using their abilities, which sounds amazing. Until you realize he is not as tanky as the other Guardian type pilots. In player versus player battles, he is more like a soft pillow than a steel wall. His best setup is usually with Dias, but even then, well, good luck. Then we have Bella, our resident stealth queen. She basically lives in stealth mode, forcing enemies to come closer just to find her. And when she finally strikes, it is always a perfect critical hit from stealth, which is pretty stylish. But here's the problem, she demands a ton of investment to become truly good, and if a melee enemy with high mobility catches her, yeah, goodbye Bella. Her ideal partner is Glacia, but even that cannot save her from those speedy brawlers. Next up is Hawkwood, the guy who really likes chasing people down just so he can hit them back with retaliation attacks. He can stun enemies, he can throw on some debuffs, and he looks cool while doing it. Unfortunately, his abilities are, well, meh compared to other attackers, and his total damage per second is nothing to brag about. And with so many better damage dealers in the A-grade pilot pool, Hawkwood is basically the guy you only call if your top tier pilots are all on vacation. He pairs best with Dias, but it is still a tough sell. Now, Lucia is an interesting case. This girl can deal a massive percentage of an enemy's maximum health in an area of effect attack. She absolutely destroys non-moving bosses and packs of mobs. The catch? She is expensive to upgrade and not very versatile compared to other boss killers. Basically, she is like a high-end sports car, fantastic on the track, but not very useful in rush hour traffic. Her best partner in crime is Arcus, and together they can make a pretty deadly team, if you are willing to invest. Finally, we have Raven, the guy who likes to make life expensive for enemies by increasing their action point costs every time he hits them. He is great against big groups of melee enemies who like to stay close together. The problem is, his damage per second is pretty weak compared to other melee pilots, and if enemies start spreading out, his performance falls apart fast. Still, when paired with Heracles, he can hold his own in the right situations. Just do not expect him to carry your team to victory. The pilots in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Catherine, Rebecca, Gareth, Cicero, Fenrir, Harvey, and Anna. Alright, buckle up, because the C tier pilots in Mecharashi are like that friend who's kinda good at the game but still can't quite carry the team. Yet they try their best and sometimes surprise you. First on the list is Catherine. Now Catherine is pretty unique because she doesn't need duplicates to shine, and she can actually move and retaliate even when ranged enemies are shooting at her, which is pretty clutch. Plus, she has great self-sustain, meaning she can keep herself in the fight longer than most. But here's the kicker, she has to dive headfirst into enemy lines to be effective, which is risky. Also, despite all this, her damage per second is sadly one of the worst among super rare pilots. If you want to pair her, Hela's your best bet. Moving on, Rebecca is the ultimate boss fighting nightmare. She can block enemy retaliation. Yep, you heard that right. Boss attacks that usually smack you back, she just says nope. Plus, she dishes out tons of damage with a crazy high hit rate. The downside, to really make her shine at an A grade level, you'll need to invest heavily, but if you do, she's a beast. Her best partner is Glacier, which makes sense because those two together can be a nightmare for any boss. Then we have Gareth, the friendly neighborhood healer and buffer. He's solid at healing and buffing over a wide area, and he even restores action points to allies, which is super handy when you need to keep your team spamming abilities. The problem? Compared to the elite S grade supports, Gareth just doesn't quite measure up, and if you want to upgrade him to A grade, you'll have to pour in a lot of resources. Blazer is his go-to partner for maximum effect. Cicero is the pilot who loves his big boomsticks, rockets, and missile launchers. He excels at sustained long-range damage per second, which means he can whittle down enemies from afar for a long time. However, the top-tier tacticians in S grade overshadow him in performance, so while Cicero is solid, he's no superstar. Arcus is the best partner if you want to get the most out of Cicero's firepower. Fenrir is all about putting the hurt on bosses by applying debuffs and blocking their skills, making him a great choice for those tough boss fights. That said, he needs quite a bit of investment to really be effective, and against regular mobs, not so great. If you want to pair him up, Glacier is the way to go, making for a debuff-heavy nightmare team. Harvey is the shotgun and machine gun alternator who gets the job done without needing too much investment, which is always a relief. He pumps out decent damage per second, but compared to those shiny S-grade damage dealers, he falls short. Also, there are plenty of A-grade DPS pilots who do better, so Harvey is more of a budget-friendly option. XR is his best buddy on the field. Last but not least, Anna, the solid guardian who's pretty good in player versus player scenarios and doesn't require much to get rolling. She brings decent self-sustain and defensive buffs, so she's reliable when you need her to soak up damage. The catch? Her performance in player versus environment is pretty poor, so don't expect her to solo any PvE bosses. Jilla's Raise is her top choice for pairing, so yeah, the C tier squad is kinda like the maybe someday crew. Not bad, but definitely overshadowed by the big dogs unless you invest a ton or find the right combos. Still, if you're working with what you've got, these pilots can pull their weight in the right moments. The pilots in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Yevgeny, Natalia, Duraka, Emily, Allison, Mary, and Dana. Alright, stepping into the B tier pilots, these are the solid but not flashy warriors of Mecharashi. They've got their moments to shine, but sometimes you wonder if they're just waiting for their big break. Starting with Yevgeny, this guy doesn't need duplicates to be useful, which is always a bonus. He's basically a survival master, great at guarding allies and staying alive against all odds. Plus, he hits back hard with counterattacks. The catch? You'll need to invest heavily to really make him good, and honestly, pure damage dealers tend to bring more bang for your buck in player versus environment battles. Pair him up with Diaz for best results. Next up is Natalia, who also doesn't rely on duplicates to work her magic. She's got a neat trick where she can use a rack to increase her attack range and damage, making her perfect for slicing off those crucial enemy body parts. That said, she's a bit of a one-trick pony compared to some of the more versatile S-grade pilots dominating the meta. If you're investing in her, Bluebird is your go-to support. Duraka is a guardian with some serious PvP chops. She guards allies from retaliation attacks and even heals herself based on the damage she deals. Talk about self-sufficient, she's one of the best guardians you can throw into player versus player fights. However, in player versus environment, having dedicated damage dealers plus healers often outshines her versatility. To unlock her full potential, you'll need to invest quite a bit, and Gil Reyes is her best partner. Emily is the team player who applies buffs to her allies and debuffs to enemies, all while dealing decent area of effect damage with good range. Plus, she triggers link attacks from all allies, which can turn the tide of battle. She does need a heavy investment to reach A-grade status, and honestly, the top tier S-grade area damage dealers still outperform her. Kong makes the perfect partner for her buffs and link synergy. Allison is the ultimate support pilot for boss fights. She buffs allies, debuffs enemies, and her all-in skill triggers link attacks from the whole squad while giving her aiming. The downside, all-in is one of her last skills to unlock, meaning patience and investment are a must. Still, if you stick with her, Glacier is the best companion for maximizing her effectiveness. Mary's all about transferring buffs to teammates and restoring their action points. Think of her as the team's energy drink dispenser. She also buffs allies when she triggers link attacks alongside them, but like many in B tier, she requires a good amount of investment to shine. XR is her best partner on the field. Lastly, Dana is your sniper specialist for destroying specific enemy body parts and bypassing shields when attacking guardians, which is a pretty niche but useful skill. However, if you're looking for the absolute best snipers, the higher grade options outclass her easily. For Dana, Bluebird is the perfect teammate. So yeah, the B tier pilots are like your dependable teammates who aren't going to steal the spotlight. But with the right investment and combos, they can definitely pull their weight. Just don't expect them to carry the team alone. That's still the job of those S-grade stars. The pilots in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Naomi, Gumusiai, Seven, Shawnee, Winston, Grant, and Kaiden. Alright, now we're cruising into the A tier pilots. The real deal, the dependable stars who can seriously bring it in Mecharashi without needing a gazillion duplicates or insane investment. Well, basically. Let's kick things off with Naomi, the freebie everyone's secretly glad to have. She doesn't require duplicates, and with her rocket launchers, she's basically the queen of ultra long range damage per second. Plus, when she uses rack, her range gets even crazier. The catch, you'll want to sink some serious bionic computer upgrades into her to unlock her full potential. Arcus is her best squad mate for maximum destruction. Next up, Gumusiai, the melee maestro who can crowd control and debuff enemies like a pro, all while being surprisingly mobile for a heavy single target damage dealer. She's perfect when you need to lock down a bunch of brawlers in close quarters. Of course she demands a hefty investment, but paired with Heracles, she can really run the show. Seven is your all-around support guru. She doesn't need duplicates, dispels debuffs, heals in a wide area, and even summons a bot that boosts her team's support game. The only downside, Melissa, another pilot, tends to do similar things but better and with less babysitting her. Still, Seven holds her own nicely, especially when paired with Blazer. Shawnee is the railgun wielder who doesn't rely on duplicates and dishes out consistent area of effect damage from long range. She's one of the best long range damage dealers out there, but don't expect her to shine when it's a one-on-one situation. She's more of a crowd control specialist. Wolverine is her top partner in crime. Winston might fly under the radar since he's a low rarity pilot, but don't underestimate him. He applies debuffs and dishes out percent-based health damage, making him excellent for boss fights. That said, when it comes to clearing mobs, he's not your guy. Bluebird works best with him for synergy. Grant is a solid all-rounder with decent damage from his abilities and link attacks, plus some nice single target healing. He's a reliable support pilot, but when stacked against the top tier S-grade supports, he falls a bit short. Blazer is the best teammate to maximize his kit. Last but definitely not least, Kaiden, the ultimate beginner's carry. He's a close range damage dealer who's great at breaking enemy parts and holding the front line. He's exactly the pilot you want when you're starting out, but eventually you'll upgrade to one of those flashy S-grade stars. Twilight Fang is his go-to squad mate for best results. So yeah, the A-tier pilots are your rock-solid crew. Not always flashy, but dependable, versatile, and with some proper investment and the right partners, they can really carry the team through thick and thin. Definitely a safe bet if you want strong performance without the headache of hunting duplicates. The pilots in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Melissa, Frida, Sylvie, William, Hong, Marcus, and Rosa. Alright, welcome to the T0 pilots, the absolute cream of the crop in Mecharashi, the game changers who can single-handedly turn the tide of battle. Let's start with Melissa, the undisputed queen of healing and support. Her heals are downright insane thanks to both her passive and active skills. She also cleanses debuffs and buffs allies like a boss, making her the go-to support pilot. If you want the best team synergy, pairing her with Blazer is a no-brainer. Next up is Frida, the close-range DPS demon with shotguns blazing. She's insane at re-attacking multiple times, can disable enemy guards, and applies debuffs that cripple foes. Plus, she has this wild guts ability that keeps her arms alive with just 1 HP, making her super tanky in the heat of battle. Glacia is her best buddy to maximize her chaos. Sylvie is the sniper extraordinaire who doesn't require duplicates to work her magic. Using aiming with a long-range weapon, she laser focuses down low health parts like a pro. She can bypass and completely negate enemy guards, which makes her one of the best snipers for mob control. Her perfect partner is Dread Talon. Together they wreak havoc from afar. William is your massive area controller with his rack stance, letting him dominate the battlefield space. He dishes out huge damage via link attacks and gains bonus stats the more enemies crowd around him. This makes him an absolute nightmare for grouped enemies. Kong is the ideal teammate to amplify his area control. Hong is the fast and furious pilot who doesn't need duplicates either. She stacks crazy amounts of critical rate and dodge through her passives, and with extreme mobility and re-attack potential, she zips around causing havoc. She does require a hefty investment to reach OP status, but when she gets there, watch out. Glacier is again the top partner to unlock her full power. Marcus doesn't mess around either. He can target and destroy already damaged parts, which is clutch for finishing off foes. His re-attack and link attack potential is fantastic, making him a reliable damage dealer who doesn't need duplicates. Twilight Fang is the perfect wingman to pair with Marcus's precision strikes. Last but definitely not least, Rosa, the versatile powerhouse wielding both a railgun and machine guns. She blends area of effect and single target damage into a perfect storm of destruction. And of course, XR is the best pilot to pair with her for max damage synergy. So yeah, the tier 0 pilots are the stars you want on your roster if you're aiming to crush every challenge in Mecharashi. They're reliable, powerful, and bring insane utility to every fight. If you get one of these, consider yourself lucky, because these are the game changers. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.